Good afternoon. Hello and a very warm welcome to all the participants. Today we will have the 12th Pani Pe Charcha on the topic accountability in safe water enterprises. As we are nearing the year end, I would like to say that we have had a spectacular specialist speaking about their experiences and best practices to take the safe water enterprises to scale. And today with us, we will have the talk by Pooja Singh, Head of Monitoring and Evaluation at Safe Water Network. With me is Mr. R.K. Srinivasan from USAID. This program is held under the USAID supported Sustainable Enterprises for Water and Health program. I am Poonam Sevak from Safe Water Network. I would like to introduce Mr. Srinivasan to the team, to the participants here. Mr. R.K. Srinivasan is a development specialist with specialization in WASH specifically. He brings untold experience of working at the grassroots level, the block, the district, and the central level, established as PMUs, to spearhead the WASH practices. He also brings with him rich experience in city water supplies after working in multiple cities across India. With this, I would like to invite Mr. R.K. Srinivasan to address the team.
I thank you, Poonam and our team, for the introduction, and best wishes to Pooja Singh for today. The presentation. We are happy to hear on the monitoring and evaluation. So we have very good results that that were submitted to us in the past phase 1 of the activity and the phase 2 of the activity, and we have seen a lot of success in the Safe Water Network activity. How it has expanded from a few pilots in Hyderabad to almost 30 cities in India, where they established the knowledge centers in partnership with the local government and also the private sector. And so they helped, the network has helped in upscaling the activity in a larger scale. And so many local governments are partnering with the network, which is our actual objective of the program. So, so without wasting much of the time, I would wish wishes to Pooja and happy to hear more today. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Srini. Pooja is leading monitoring and evaluation at Safe Water Network for almost a decade. She brings with her an experience which is rich in the water sector. Previously, she was working as Assistant Director with FICCI prior to joining at Safe Water Network. She holds an international water degree from UN University. Now over to you, Pooja.
Thank you, Poonam. Thank you, Sriniji. And thank you to all my Seva Alliance partners for coming forward together under one platform and sharing your insights on M&E systems at the workshop, Padi Pe Charcha workshop, which was held in November 30th. And together we are going to discuss, and based on your inputs, today the discussion is more like on accountability and safe water enterprises.
The collection of data, the primary device is IoT, through which we collect the data that gives us information almost online regularly. Then, as I told you, there are WhatsApp group which we get the updated information, and then there are physical visits of our supervisor who gives us the feedback. Then the customer feedback is taken through a helpline number. So in their app also they have a helpline number, or they can directly dial that and give us the feedback.
So in terms of operational KPIs, we monitor the amount of water that our solutions generate. Again, we say generate because our solutions generate water from Earth. So we want to make sure that every drop that is generated by our machine is actually, provided and actually meets the requirements of these marginalized members of the communities. Similarly, in terms of total electricity consumed, we've mentioned this figure because our machine depends on only power to generate water, as the water vapor that we generate is basically tapped from the water vapor present in the earth. So we want to make sure that our machines are performed in such an efficient manner that we're able to reduce cost of electricity towards water generation and have the machine running more efficiently down the line.
Yeah, in some ATMs we do monitor, fluoride. So this is a new thing which we are starting now. We have got some fluoride sensors and also residual chlorine sensors. So we are trying to monitor these two also in some of our other ATMs. Some of our plants are run by women self-help group, so they also give certain inputs, what exactly is expected from the customer, because they are selling even cold water at higher rates.
Most of the WKRC is in Assam, so we have the monitoring team is different, and also the caretakers are different. We have a monitoring team of 8 employees, so that includes site coordinator and the finance team and projects team. So the monthly expenses are around 1,52,000.
So our key performance indicators are based on the SOFI criteria, which is basically the performance benchmarks which have been set by Safe Water Network to assess the performance of our Safe Water enterprises. The result-based framework talks about the inputs and activities. So the input is, of course, we first allocate the resources. The groundwater is being tested for contamination to understand whether there is a need for intervention in this particular area. Of course, like IEC materials and electrolyzer demos are conducted locally to make people aware that there's a problem with the water that they're consuming. Focus group discussions, raw water and electricity connection is being arranged for and facilitated. Then there are regulatory compliances. Once these things are met, we come to the stage of sign up of the MOU, whether it's with the local entrepreneur or the community, as the model it is. Civil constructions, and then we're using IoT also for daily tracking, monitoring, and reporting. Like I told you, there is a dedicated M&D portal wherein all the automation, M&D automation is being done. I would like to highlight the outputs here. We have 1.3 million people whom we are providing safe water access as of today. We have 350 communities, out of which are generating livelihoods for 940 people. We have 57% of these 350 communities who are actually managing and operating the water station, and we have 45% registration so far.
So in the inputs, so we are basically tied with the ULBs. So for that, when we set up in the water health centers, so we require the permission from the ULBs with raw water and electric totals and manpower. So manpower means we need operators to maintain the WHCs in decentralization operation. Coming to the activities, so we have different type of activities. We are going to when we put up a water health center, means we have different segments. That means we'll select in the site by using feasibility team. We also have social marketing teams. We'll do all the activities.
And we have a dedicated helpline. So a lot of times there are issues if the plant is down. We get a direct customer feedback in our central helpline. We do have clusters which are not working well, And we are continuously looking at inputs from WKRC, this Safe Water Network as well, to see what else can be done, some nudge marketing strategies, etc., to see how to make the or the root cause analysis as to why those programs are not working.
Thank you to all WKRC partners once again for emphasizing the importance of accountability when it comes to managing the Safe Water enterprises well and ensuring that there is sustainability in service delivery to our communities. Moving ahead, we know there is clean water. Clean water is available, but how reliable is that? How do we ensure that they're sustainable when it comes to delivery of services? It's high time we amplified local voices to reduce the failures or the challenges or the gaps which are happening in the water sector as of today. And the answer is, of course, transparency and accountability. Based on your inputs to all the partners on November 30th workshop, we established a SOFI index, which is broadly social, operational, financial, institutional, and environmental. As we had discussed earlier, this is basically the performance benchmarks which have been set to assess the given water enterprises for its feasibility, whether it is functioning well or not. Against each of these indicators, there are sub-indicators. There are total 18 in count. And if we go one by one, we have access, availability, consumer participation, and customer feedback as well when it comes to social indicator. When it comes to operational, we track how much water is produced, how much is sold, if the quality is being monitored from time to time or quarterly or 6-monthly basis, what's the downtime as of today, if there is uptime or not, or if there is less than 2% downtime or less than 5% downtime, technical and sales, everything is tracked. And if the given water enterprise is able to generate some livelihoods for the community. Financial indicators informs the source of capital from where the water enterprise was established, how much revenue is being generated every month, what's the cost per liter, and the total operational expenditure which is being incurred every month. Institutional is one such indicator which happens right at the onset of the establishing of the water enterprise as well as an ongoing thing, because when we have to meet the regulatory compliances which happens in the beginning, and then there are capacity building and training programs which happens from time to time for the operators or the entrepreneurs or women entrepreneurs or even our field people there who are actually on the ground and doing the service for us, for the community. Environmental sustainability is the most critical part of the SOFI index, because as you're all aware that the Ministry of Environment and Forest has recently issued the guidelines and notification that if at all you have reverse osmosis technology installed at your program level, we need to ensure that we are not drawing much from the mother and the reject water is not disturbing the groundwater table. So that needs to be monitored from time to time. M&D performance reporting mechanism is again the most critical part of the reporting. It starts from how do we collect the data, what's the method, what's the mechanism, what's the frequency at which we are collecting the data, what's the frequency, and how much, who is the target audience of the monthly reports that we are developing, whether it's for internal or external stakeholders, and if at all there is a feedback or loop mechanism. So when it comes to method of data collection, all of us had discussed this, that we do the physical site visits, we have calls, we have videos as well. Then we have remote monitoring system and Internet of Things systems. Most of us are following the, we have automated data systems in place. We also do focus group discussions from time to time so that if there are any loopholes or any gaps that we get from on irregularly. Frequency of collection is again weekly, daily, monthly, or through video calls. If we have any impact assessment which needs to be taken place after 3 years or after 2 years, sometimes it is the donor demand that the impact assessment takes place once a year. So that is also based on from one case to another. Reporting frequency is daily, monthly, and quarterly to the internal as well as external stakeholders. When it comes to external, I mean it can be the donor, it can be the board of trustees or board of management as the nature of the organization is. Feedback, we do the monthly review meetings from time to time. We also conduct training sessions so that there is peer-to-peer learning. We have monthly audits which takes place and at all the Safe Water enterprises, and it is done both by the internal auditors as well as external auditors. M&D cost is one such aspect which is the most undersourced as of today. And I say undersourced is because we do not, number one, we do not have a dedicated or committed individual who's only doing M&D for the entire organization. That is where there is lack of accountability when it comes to maintaining the M&D systems. When it comes to team involved, we have people who are either ATM operators or the FSC. FSC, by FSC, I mean field service entity. Some of us have an independent field service entity which takes care of the operations and maintenance of a given water enterprise. So we have technicians, either part-time or full-time, who are engaged to ensure that M&D is also being well taken care of. So we have M&D executives at cluster level, at state level, as well as at the central level. In some of the organizations, the head of monitoring and evaluation, like myself, is supervising and doing the analysis part. Some of us have the head of sales or the head of operations who is helping us with the M&D systems. When it comes to monthly fixed expenses, we have broadly categorized them into two categories. Number one, manpower based on the time allotted and the travel which takes place from time to time. And category B is ITES, which is Information Technology Enabled Services, which broadly comprises the remote monitoring system, the complaint management, and other software like Safe Water Network has employed Tableau to generate dashboards for our donors. And Tableau helps in generating customized dashboards for the donors or for the project as you need. So we're using that. Cost of the category A and category B when combined together may vary from INR Indian rupees 12,000 to 150,000, and which is equivalent to $160 to $2,000 in a month. Monthly variable expenses again vary from one organization to another. There can be operating electricity and raw water consumption charges, which applies every month. There are consumables with respect to spares or O&M, that is also there. IC campaigns on dated events may happen from in one quarter or the other. That is again covered under variable expenses. And then there are monthly recharges, which also form a part of variable expenses. These range from INR 3,000 to 7,000, which is $40 to $90. When we total fixed or variable expenses, we have an average monthly monitoring and evaluation expenditure of 100,000 rupees to 250,000 rupees. Now, let me take you to a case study on how Safe Water Network has journeyed along with our partners in stabilizing the monitoring and standardizing the monitoring strategy, as well as bringing out the best practices forward to the sector. We started with a proper organic philosophy that we need to align with the local governing bodies or the urban local bodies as the project is concerned. So we do the signups and all. We map the stakeholders or the partners who are going to be involved in a particular project. We did not shy away from establishing a robust monitoring system, and for that we have established IoT-based automatic data entry into the systems. This has helped, in also capacity doing the upgrading the skills of the field executives at the ground level and into the tablets. And once they enter the data into the tablets, we do the data validation and analysis. We convert the information we get from the field into insights. Today we have field insights, spotlights, and sector reports written, and they all form a part of the knowledge compendium that we have authored. And this also helps in generating evidence for the donors that this thing exists and it is going to scale up in the long run. We have disseminated our lessons through our knowledge center, and it has also helped us in creating impact evaluation. Today, because of the robust monitoring system that we have in place, we have been selected as a partner to the government of Karnataka in operationalizing their 18,500 or more than that water ATMs which are not functioning, or partially either they were functioning or they were not functioning. Either they were functioning partly or they were not functioning properly. So we helped them in operationalizing them. We'll discuss this in detail in the upcoming slides. When I say robust M&E system, which is followed by Safe Water Network at our water enterprises, I would like to say we have a gold standard M&E system in place. And I don't want to exaggerate about that, because we are actually providing 24/7 reliable safe water service and access to our over 1.3 million people in the states of Telangana, UP, and Maharashtra. And this was specially ensured when there was, we still have ongoing pandemic, but when there was the lockdown, we ensured that 98% of those stations were working. So that's how, we say that we have a gold standard M&E system in place. We have 24/7 water ATMs that ensures reliability, that ensures water safety. We have state-of-the-art technology in terms of remote monitoring system, which are 100% remotely monitored and ensures less than 2% downtime. We have the IoT-based system. We use tablets, which is a software for data reporting. We have trained our field executives and cluster coordinators in the field to start using tablets and start entering the data after having we trained them all, and after having understood the concept, they have started using the tablets to enter the data, which is then supplied, transferred to the head office in Delhi, and we analyze the data and make use of Tableau as a software to generate performance-based dashboards. Mitigation measures is one such thing which we proudly say that we have in place. We have over 10 years of service life, which is ensured through the CRM app we have, which is being used by the field executives, which is being used by the station entrepreneurs very freely. It's a user-friendly app, and it helps in generating complaints, and which is then managed by our technical team within 48 hours, and the complaints are closed. We have an independent field service entity which ensures that there is 98% availability of the O&M service to the stations. Donor reporting is one such aspect where we have a dedicated donor portal for all our donors. They are all password protected, and we generate impact evaluation and other reporting from every month for them to be able to view them and access them and download them as and when required. As Mr. Srini has said a while ago, we have the KPIs, and we have a dedicated portal for USAID as well, where they can easily, access that portal and see what all metrics we are, tracking. These include the access, these include the women being empowered, the consumer registrations that have been happening, and not just that, we are also tracking of that of our partners. As you all know that I keep nudging you for the reports from time to time, and that you provide us with that, all the WKRC partners. So everything is being transparently shared with our donors like USAID and others, and it's being well tracked. We have the remote monitoring system which generates daily predictive maintenance graphs, as you can see, moving average totals and the RMS data transmission. If there are any hiccups, we do take care. We do give a shout out to our technical team that there's something wrong with the station, and this RMS helps us in giving alarms and alerts every 15 minutes, so that we know that something is happening and we are not just sitting in Delhi and managing things there. So that's how RMS helps us in maintaining less than 2% downtime. CRM, as I had mentioned earlier, it helps in ensuring that we have the closure of any breakdown or failure within 2 days. So as you can see, where we have the app, this is an Excel, which is a dashboard, spreadsheet dashboard, which is generated out of the app. So as you can see, we have the complaint IDs mentioned on the left hand side. We also track what type of complaint is that. Is it electrical or mechanical? Against which station, what kind of complaint was that, what was the response time given by the team to the community, and if at all there was a delay for more than 48 hours, what was the reason? And it has to be a genuine delay. So we do not just, it's not a fit and forget model for us. We ensure that if today we have 350 stations in place, they are all working and we are not running after the numbers. Tableau generated operational dashboards. We have dashboards right from, which informs the volumes of the stations against each cluster and the consumer penetration and registrations happening in each cluster. In cans per day, in terms of cans per day, or in terms of usage. We also have financial snapshot and other financial graphs which are generated through Tableau that helps us understand how the station is performing, if it is contributing towards the sustainability fund, and how much has been the entrepreneur fund or the service fee, which is being contributed by each of the station in each of the clusters, as you can see from the graph here. Like I had mentioned before, because we have had our robust MET system, it helped us, being selected by the government of Karnataka as their partner to provide technical assistance to them. Today, as you can see from the pie chart on the left, we followed a proper sequence by signing in the contract for efficient management, and then we have had service level agreement mentioned, signed up with the government, which informed what all indicators are going to be tracked. We developed the technology selection tool way back, and we use that. Today the government of Karnataka is using the technology selection tool to assess the water enterprises there, if they are functioning well, or like I had mentioned, we also use SOFI as a tool in the tools, and that helps in understanding if the stations have been performing well in terms of operationally or socially or financially. We have had capacity build programs from time to time in Karnataka, and then we are also using the complaint management app to register any complaints and solve them in time. The left hand on the right, there is a graph which informs currently the total number of plants, which of them are operational, which of them have data being received, and if there is no data which is being viewed, that is being verified. At the end, I would only like to thank all my partners once again, and thank you for bearing with us during this partnership. And together, we hope and we look forward to working collaboratively and learn from each other how we can together create a strong and efficient M&E system. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Pooja. I request all of you to please post a question. However, going forward, I have a series of questions from the last workshop which are yet to be answered, and I will table them first as we receive more questions, if at all. So the first question for you, Pooja, is when you are training the operators to report on the tablet, what is the cost of the tablet and the cost of capacity building? Because most of these operations, as our co-donors, our alliance partners were saying, that they are not funded. So what are the costs of training, costs of hardware?
So basically, M&E costs can be broadly categorized or divided into three parts: hardware, software, and then there is a feedback loop mechanism as well, which is taken care of by the M&E team and the technical team, which is placed on the ground. When it comes to Tableau, when it comes to tablets, it's more or less 5,000 to 6,000. It varies, but then a minimum cost per tablet is like that. And we conduct trainings every quarter. So training costs about 40,000 in a year, because 10,000 is per quarter. So it's about up to 40,000 in a year. And so these trainings, when we say that we have dedicated M&E trainings, or we are using tablets only for, doing the M&E system, that will not be, borne by the donor standalone. We'll have to combine the cost along with other aspects as well, when we, enlist them in the project cost breakup.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Moving on to the next question. With respect to Tableau data generation, can you elaborate on this? What is Tableau? What is the data generation mechanism? How is it used for feedback loop mechanism? And what are the advantages?
Okay, so we have automated M&E systems in place. So when I say automated, as in we have trained our field personnel in, deriving the data from the operators. So what had happened was that earlier everything used to be manual. So we wanted to automate the systems to reduce any data discrepancies. And there has to be data, the data has to be adequate, not just quality, but there has to be adequate as well. So we thought we'll bring in that element in place, and we trained all our field executives as well as station operators and entrepreneurs in collection of data while they have been maintaining the attendance records or customer registration records, everything in attendance registers. We trained them how they can do that through online systems. So we developed online dashboards for them, and the data. Once everything was done, we trained them how to enter that data, whether it was sales data or customer data or distribution data or downtime data. We trained them in entering that data in this customer-friendly format into the system. Once that data is entered into the system, Tableau is a facing tool. It's not a data entry system. It's a facing tool. So Tableau helps in generating the dashboards, which has been already from the data which has already been entered into the cloud. So we train them how to enter the data into the tablet, and then use Tableau as a software to generate beautiful, nice, custom-made dashboards out of those data which is entered by the field. So that's how Tableau helps us.
Okay, so with this Tableau, if you are automating, what is the reduction in manpower because of deployment of Tableau?
I wouldn't say reduction in manpower, but I would say reduction in the man hours in entering the online data manually, because for them it is entering how many dropouts have been there, how many people came in, and how many every day they used to allocate dedicated time only to enter the data into the register. So that man hours has been reduced, and instead they have started using that man hours in in doing consumer mobilization programs, in doing dropout survey, door-to-door survey, to, understand, if there have been any problems, why did you drop out, if at all. So when I say dropouts, we do dropouts. We calculate dropouts as such. If any customer has not been collecting water since 3 months, we call it a dropout. So they have used, this is one just example. Besides that, they have also tried using their man hours in other aspects, like I would say IEC campaigns that they do from one quarter to another. So M&E systems, this has helped us like that.
Okay, thank you, Pooja. Madhu Krishnamurthy has two very pertinent questions. One of the question is, do all water ATM centers have tablets for data entry on a daily basis?
Yes.
What information is submitted by the operators on the daily basis on these tablets?
So we have tablets given to all the Safe Water Enterprises station entrepreneurs or the community model, whichever it is. And we have also given tablets to the field executives to track, M&E systems, because we have different layers, hierarchy system in place. If we do not rely on station entrepreneurs completely, entering the data. So we have field executives and cluster coordinators who authenticate if the data was entered correctly or if the data was entered adequately or not. Data tabs is the sales, daily sales. Number 2, the customer registration, if there have been any customer registration, the attendance records. Number 3 is the downtime, technical downtime as well as sales downtime. I hope you can differentiate easily between the two. And then we have the distribution data, how much water is being sold to the nearby hamlets or within the village. So sales, basically sales. The data is entered both in terms of cans as well as in terms of literage. Then we have the downtime, we have distribution, and then we have customer registration data.
So coming from the same organization, I would just like to say that these are two separate mechanisms by which we are doing monitoring and evaluation. We have the remote monitoring system, which is capturing 16 parameters. And the 16 parameters, it is the remote monitoring system is capturing are with respect to plant performance, electricity quality, number of hours of electricity supplied, surrogate water quality, ambient temperature, pressure at the membranes, UV on off. So through this, we are able to basically do predictive maintenance to prevent the downtime and to increase the life of our membranes and the high value spares like pressure pumps. That's first part of the monitoring and evaluation. Coming to the second part of it, what Pooja just mentioned on the tablet, the operator has to daily submit volume of water produced, volume of water sold, number of consumer participated. Basically, we are doing a very detailed analysis on consumer penetration. So these are other 3 parameters besides what Pooja already mentioned that are entered on a daily basis. Coming to Madhu's second question for you, Pooja, how does Safe Water Network ensure checks and balances to reduce erroneous data transmission?
So we have monthly audits which happen. So what happens is once the data is entered, like I mentioned, we have hierarchy level. So once they enter the data, we have internal auditors who sit in the field offices. They authenticate if the data which has been entered is correct or not. And if at all it is corrected, then it is informed. Then we have a auditor sitting at the Delhi office who start checking the data, and then the analysis takes place. So we do not completely or blindly, follow what is being entered. We have dedicated staff who authenticate the data which is being entered both at the field level as well as at the head office level.
So please establish the hierarchy of your data audit.
Sure. Thank you, Poonamji and Pooja. Madhu here again. I'm sorry that I'm coming in outside of the chat and asking this question. But I had this question since Pooja had explained. So you've got automation from a equipment perspective, from a plant operator perspective, which is more Safe Water Network or internal facing. Do the customers use RFID cards for water dispensation? Is that how water is dispensed at your centers?
Yes. So we have RFID cards which we issue to the customers when they purchase the cans. We have HDPE cans which narrow mouth opening. So when they purchase the can, they also get the RFID cards along with that, and they use that cards to come and collect water whenever they have to come to the station. And they have the money is when they pay for the water, they if they we have 20-liter waters. So when they come to collect the water and they use the RFID card, swap it before the water sales panel, the money gets deducted automatically from the RFID cards, and then the data is then transferred to the remote monitoring system. So we also have an IGEL customer profiling in place in the remote monitoring system, which informs that this was the customer belonging to this house.
Pooja did mention that the operators also talk about the number of customers who come in, because if the customers are using RFID cards, do you also mean that people come and buy on cash? Is that also a mode of transaction? Because then that is when the new customers or the customers coming in would be valid. Otherwise, the data would be captured from the RFID cards itself, right? As to how many number of cans were taken by the RFID card holders.
So this used to happen traditionally, when we were new to the, starting this initiative, when people were a little hesitant to purchasing the, RFID cards and the cans. That is when we experienced that there are issues with not all of them using RFID. But gradually, we have today all of our stations where all of our customers are using RFID cards, and so there is no gap in, collation of customers' data. So all of them are using RFID cards. It is administered at all the stations.
Secondly, Madhu, we are also doing digital cashless payments through QR code system and through the drop of coin. So most of the transaction at the water station is cashless. So these are the three methods through which the consumer is buying, because the water ATM is completely automated. The operator is barely there for a couple of hours.
I put another question in about network problems. Do you all face that a lot? Does that impact your monitoring? So just wanted to know your...
Yeah, we have had issues with the network, but then that doesn't hinder the capturing of the data, because if there is no network today, it might come back again tomorrow or, in the later hours of the day. So that doesn't really affect.
Okay. So we are able to capture data offline. And at this point, I would like to say we are working in one of the remote districts in the aspirational district of Gadchiroli, which does not have any network except BSNL. And we are able to survive there also. There is a question from our previous AOR, Mr. Anand Rudra. And Anand's question is, how does Safe Water Network share or incorporate the rural operation M&E lessons with the urban areas?
Okay, so we have dedicated KPI metrics which we have followed in rural areas, which is more difficult, when it comes to, implementing a plant and, having a stricter, I would say, or a robust M&E system, which is hardly there with other enterprises. So when we have ensured that when we have established the KPI metrics in our rural intervention, we replicate the same in our urban intervention as well. So even the Hyderabad water ATMs have the similar KPI metrics like access and the number of servings per day and the registrations or water being sold on everyday basis. Everything is being tracked similarly as we used to do in rural interventions.
Next question for you. What is the percentage contribution or expense of M&E in the entire project cycle on an annualized basis?
It is about 10 to 15%, ma'am, of the entire program cost. M&E, because M&E is not just M&E, M&E also comprises remote monitoring system. And unless we have remote monitoring system in place, we cannot ensure that all stations are working. So it's an integral part of our program.
So thank you very much for the multiple questions that you have answered, but there is one last question. And this last question is, the entire SWE Alliance partners mentioned that it is very, very difficult for them to dedicate a M&E resource. And mostly the M&E resource, whether in the head office or in the field, is a person who is having joint responsibility. What needs to be done more so that we are able to, as a sector, create a position for accountability, especially today, development world is moving towards accountability and sustainability in all the programs, be it water, be it sanitation, education. How do you see this unfold in future?
So as an M&E person, I can only suggests that we should not ignore M&D as an aspect of the entire program, because we have been doing that, many of our sector stakeholders have been doing that. M&D did not get enough weightage so far, and donors are not ready to fund M&D as a standalone project. M&D is very important. Unless you monitor, how do you prove that your stations are running? You know, so M&D needs, we need to have a dedicated team. We have from the collective inputs from all the SEWA partners, we found out that the team, did not have a dedicated team. They have sales team, they have operations team who are dedicating 10% of their time in M&D, but that just go haywire. If we have a dedicated team, we have dedicated M&D metrics in place, we should be able to, you know, have a robust M&D framework to boast about. So we should be having an M&D system in place, and we should be having a dedicated team to whom dedicated costs can be allotted, and that can be pitched to the donors or external donors. And this will help us in the long run.
So thank you very much, Pooja. I invite Mr. Srinivasan to address the Alliance group and share his opinion about the session.
Yeah, it was very helpful and a lot of good discussions. And so I would encourage some government officials also to participate in the next meetings, basically that they are the main stakeholders who have to understand the importance of the last mile connectivity options. So if they participate, that will be good. That is one of my suggestions. And it's overall it's very good. And thank you for inviting me in this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Srinivasan. With this, I would like to thank all my SWE Alliance partners. Each one of you have enriched the program, and we were able to develop a collective platform for reporting and carry our voice to the sector. And with this, I would like to thank all the participants, and especially Pooja, for the very good lessons and the insights she drew today in the session, Accountability in SWEs and its Importance. Thank you all.